If you're a high achieving, solution focused gal, Miss Fix It, who everyone loves to come to for answers, and you're starting to feel burnt out or like you're missing out on life, then tune into today's episode as it will support you to transform your life from the inside out. Welcome to the Bliss Movement, a podcast for big hearted, driven women daring to be great who know that this starts by pouring love into themselves first. I'm Dr. Fee. I'm passionate about helping women to stop tuning out and burning out, but to tune within, reconnect with your heart, feel lit up, follow your bliss, and live life on your terms. So, get ready to expand your life beyond what you thought was possible when it comes to healing, wealth, love, purpose, and leadership. Years ago, I remember saying to my husband, "Sweetheart, I'm not Siri. I'm not Alexa." And it's really funny because today, his relationship with Siri is incredible. He'll often pull out his phone and be just like, "Hey Siri, can you tell me?" But at that time in my life, I had enabled my family, my friends, my team, everyone in my life to really rely on me in a very heavy way. And we're going to explore this because this is a common scenario for the vast majority of my clients who, are highly ambitious, high achievers, driven, big hearted, generous hearted women who love to help others and then find themselves in a position where actually all they're doing is really helping others and not helping themselves and struggling. Like when you're smart, you're intelligent, and you're capable, and you just know, gosh, you have so many solutions and so much that you can give others and the world, but then you can't actually help yourself and you're spiraling into burnout. It can create a big sense of frustration and overwhelm and confusion. And you'll often hear me say, look, you cannot think your way out of burnout. And quite often we do try, right? It's because we're smart and intelligent, and it's supported us up until where we are right now. And, this drive and the things that we have relied upon has supported us to accomplish the success that we have right now. But it is also the very things that are our undoing. It's contributing to the burnout. And so when we're in a state of survival, it's just important to appreciate our physiology, what our natural tendency is. And this is where we do look for threats and we focus on worst case scenarios. And we'll also just lean on what we know. And this is one of the biggest mistakes that you can do in burnout. It's really an opportunity for you to ask better questions and receive help and support to help you to really address what's at play here. And often we need a whole lot of new tools and resources and strategies to support us in shifting our mindset, our perspective, because ultimately we got to go to a deeper level. And there's an opportunity from burnout to bliss where we actually get to see that how I think and feel and do and be in life, that's what this is about, that I get to transform that so that I can then expand further and achieve new levels of success, wealth, and happiness that we can never really imagine. We think we know what it's going to be like, but when you get there, it's like, oh, this is so much better than what I ever imagined. So, it's so tricky when you find yourself in a position where like on one hand, it feels so good to love others. I honestly, my entire life, I've loved helping people. Loved helping animals. I love contributing towards a good cause. I love that feeling of meaning and purpose. And when you're in this state of depletion and burnout, and you can see that there's a something good in it, but there's also an awareness that actually I have nothing left. Like I am on a point of like, it's like the red lights coming on the dashboard and I'm running out of fuel. And yet and then in this time, it becomes this internal battle because while I love to help people, right? And you might resonate with this. There's also a sense of growing resentment, and then we feel like, oh, don't resent that. Like these are my children who are asking me to help, and I should love that. But it's just because you're so freaking depleted that the simple things in life can create a huge amount of pressure and burden and growing resentment. And then that resentment is like a cancer. In fact, it's more than that. It's so hard because it drives a massive wedge between you and the people you love. Like you in your role as a mother, you in your role as a partner, it can create this wedge, like this barrier that, resentment just pushes the people that you love the most away. And it can also transform your relationship to your work. Like if you are finding that you're running on empty and there's this constant demands and you're in that space of, this vicious cycle of burnout where you actually, the more depleted and stressed out and out of routine we are, our willpower goes flying out the window. So what we've relied on in the past is just do it. I committed to this. I promise I'm going to be different. And like that has supported us to accomplish success in our lives, right? Like I can honestly say, just putting my head down, hard work, it helped me to accomplish a huge amount of success until it didn't, until it then jeopardized me and spiraled me into burnout. And so, right? And so when we recognize that in that position where, you know, at work you've been the one who's just like, yeah, I'm just going to push through, I'm going to do it, and then all of a sudden you haven't got the energy to do that, and you know that change has to happen. You have to say no. You have to hold different standards for yourself. You have to put boundaries in place with your work, with your boss, with your hours, how you show up, all these different elements. You might know it, but actually when you're really tired and you're stressed, your willpower, it doesn't matter how many promises you've made, your willpower goes flying out the window and you revert to old patterns. Oh, okay. You just sort of tell yourself just this once, oh, look, it's important that this happens. And then before you know it, you're back into that constant state of people pleasing, saying yes, giving all your energy to other people and feeling really, really angry at yourself, resentful. You think you're resentful at them, but actually you're really resentful at yourself. Here I am again doing the exact thing that I didn't want to do. And, it just is, all I can describe it as is it's this internal battle, because a part of your heart is just like, I love giving and I want to do this and I want to be proactive and I want to have this relationship, that is so healthy and positive, like a yes can do attitude with my job, with my boss, and same with my kids. I want to take on and all these projects with them and have lots of fun, and I want to be the fun mom, and I want to also, have time with my partner and like give him or her like my time, my energy, my focus, because connection and intimacy means so much to me. But before the end of it, we're prioritizing nothing, and you're not prioritizing yourself. So therefore, how can you truly prioritize other people? Because you cannot give what you don't have. And it's like, this is a priority, this is a priority, this is a priority. And as Jim Collins says, if you have more than 3 priorities, you have none. And so in the end, we have all these priorities, but really the main priority is beating ourselves up, feeling like a deep sense of failure, and not supporting ourselves in the right way that actually helps us to claim life on our own terms. Okay. So all of this ends up where we feel really, really hard. We're really hard on ourselves. And we actually become, it's like we could become the greatest critic. There's this process of such empowerment when we cultivate an awareness of how we think about ourselves. Like most of the time, especially in the state of survival, we're just rushing, we're just pushing down and pushing on. And, we're in this constant state of pressure, pressure, pressure. And we don't even have an awareness of really what is playing up here. And I'm putting to my head, and it's like these stories and the narratives. It's like we're just responding, reacting to that. We're just very reactive in life. We're over here, we're doing this, I'm getting pulled in this direction. You're just getting pushed around in life because you haven't reclaimed your life. And so when we start to then tune in, it's like, oh my gosh, do you hear what I'm telling myself? And it's like we are really, really critical of ourselves. And sometimes we say things that, I'm going through this phase. I remember just thinking I would never even say this to the person that I like the least. Like, oh my gosh, have you heard how I speak to myself? This is really, really damaging. And that narrative, that constant, you know, um, chatter and negative self talk, it infuses everything that we do, especially those times where we want to rest and relax. You might find that you can't really switch off, right? Even if you're doing these things, it's like, there's this internal buzz of sympathetics, like, zzz, like you're still plugged in. Or actually, you just come to those moments and you collapse because it's just like, oh, you fall in a heap because you're that depleted. And I often talk about how we get caught in this pattern of reacting to life rather than responding. And I remember coming across, my children quite young, and there's these little plastic toys that you can play with at childcare or at the library, and it's the whack-a-mole games. It's like the little puppy or a little plastic toy comes up, and then you bang on it, and that's life, right? It's like, oh, it's over here and it's over here, and it's like you're just constantly putting out fires or spinning plates or juggling different things or playing a game of whack-a-mole, and that's really, really exhausting. We can get so caught in life thinking the way that I'm going to finally get a sense of fulfillment and contentment and rest and calm is to have whacked all the things, ticked off all the list, and have it all complete. But that never happens, and nor do we want it to, because a really fulfilled, fun, full life, a life where we're just full of meaning, there's going to be so much creative energy coming in, new ideas, new projects, and this is all wonderful if it's a response to us pouring love into ourselves first versus a reaction because we're striving for more and more out there in order to fill a void in here. And it's a very big difference. And so what has really supported me in just like shifting how I approach life is so simple. It was a teaching that I came across from one of my previous mentors, the beautiful Jane Jewell. And she described, like, when you come to any decision, including embracing change or just like a yes or no question or having to make, a major life changing decision, there are two things that we can focus on. The first is strategy and the second is mindset. Now, strategy is where we look outside of ourselves, the thing, the action. What do I need to do? What needs to be fixed? What actions do I have to take? So in life, we are constantly affronted, like we're constantly face to face with challenges or problems, things that we don't want to have happened, right? Like that's the duality of life. And if we continue, because we're fix it girls, what we do really well is we focus on strategy. It's very masculine. This is the hard work and effort. What needs to happen? Linear thinking. I'm here. I need to get to there. So 1 + 1 = 2. A, B, C. This is the path that I need to take. However, it takes a lot of effort. And like I said, we've relied on it so much in the past. We're really good at it, and it has created, we've got evidence that it creates success, but at what cost? At what cost? Often to a point of depletion. But here's where it gets even more interesting. Two people can embrace the same strategy but get a very different outcome. Why is that? And that comes to the second part, which is mindset. So when we come up against an opportunity to make a decision or where something feels uncomfortable, where we get triggered or activated, what we can do instead is, rather than taking action out there and be like, what needs to happen? It'd be like more about pausing and reflecting in here. Stop tuning out, tuning in. It's about going within first. So a pause in order to meet yourself on a deeper level, to really shift your mindset. And by mindset, I mean how you think, your perspective, how you feel, the heart set, the felt sense, and even deeper on an energetic and soul level. An event is neutral until we give it meaning. Then it becomes an experience. Two people can have the same event but have a vastly different experience. Like I've had clients who have received a redundancy. one prior to working me who's like, oh my God, my life is over, ends up in a cycle, in a state of bitterness that then jeopardizes her ability to find a new job. And she's now spiraling into debt and lack and scarcity until she comes to work with me, of course. The other loses her job and is like, oh my God, this is the most incredible thing. I have this redundancy. Now I have the space and the time and the resources. I'm creating a life that I truly love. How is this supporting me? Oh my goodness, this is perfect for this reason, this reason, this reason. And then taking it and this pushing off at it. It's like this step that they can step onto and push off to go to the next level. Same event, two very different outcomes. One ends up in bitterness and like taking it personally and giving it all the wrong meaning. The other is like embracing it. This is the growth mindset. This is a lesson for me. This is happening for me. Oh my gosh, what am I going to create? Like, it's disappointing. I'm sad. I feel scared, but something new's coming in and I'm going to say yes and I'm going to embrace these opportunities. The difference is our mindset. Now, I don't want you just to think it's about thought. We have to go beyond the mind. So it's mindset on steroids. It's mindset with an extra kick. And that extra kick is really, really important because, in both scenarios, we could just tell ourselves, get over it, get over it. It's not to say the first client of mine, wasn't trying to tell herself, just move on. Don't take it personally. Come on, because we can try and tell ourselves these things, but do we actually feel it? No. And this is where healing and growth, transformation is really important. And so we have an opportunity before stepping forward, before finding a solution or making a decision to truly meet ourselves so that the outcome changes. Now, this is so important on a physiological level. Rather than reacting in that fight flight response, where our brain, what happens in a sympathetic dominant state is our solution focused, creative thinking, even our connection centers get shut down in our brain. And we become very focused on us and the ego. And it's like, what's right for me versus like the bigger picture. And in fact, we can create a whole lot of extra mess because of our reaction. And I've done this many, many times in my life, right? And then you just go, oh, actually, I think I made the situation worse, right? Because we have taken steps in the reaction, in the contraction, in the trigger and the anger and the frustration. Instead, when we actually activate the parasympathetic, so this is emotional regulation, breathing, all the tools, the bliss toolbox that I teach my beautiful clients. And it's like meeting yourself on a mindset level, but on an emotional level to feel differently. Give yourself what it is you need. It's not wrong that you feel so angry. It's a normal human response. It's what you do with it that's in your control. And it's like pouring your attention, your focus, your energy, your time into how do I support myself in this state? That is going to, like, that's the most empowered thing. That's going to change your life because when you do that, you change the outcome. Because again, on a physiological level, your brain comes back online. You can now see solutions that you couldn't before. And we know this. This is in research. Like the most productive countries are those that have more support, less working hours, a culture that prioritizes rest and play and sport. And we've experienced it in our own lives where, if you're there trying to push on and figure it out, it's like the answer becomes really elusive. But it might be when you switch off, you walk away, you go bouncing on the trampoline. So I've had many insights on the trampoline, or you go out walking in nature. Oh my gosh, it's like when your mind is so awake. It's like for me, that is medicine, being in nature. Or, you might be out having a dance or catching up with friends, and all of a sudden it's like, there it is. Awesome. And you capture it. It's like, that's the solution. Why? It's because, as Einstein says, and I'm paraphrasing this, like, you cannot solve something at the same energy that you're putting into it. And it's like, we got to shift our reality. And to shift our reality, we got to shift how we feel about it. And that is incredible. And so it's an opportunity. This is the power of pausing to focus on our state, our mindset, our emotional state, how we feel about it. Because again, just quite simply, try this out in your relationship. You can say to them, they might be like, your partner might be like, what's wrong? What's wrong? You're like, nothing. But if there's anger or resentment or frustration, is it, you might say the words, but it's felt differently. But if you actually pause and take care of yourself, or just learn how to meet yourself, like emotional regulation, when you say nothing and you're more tolerant and more accepting, it's felt. It actually means what you're saying. And it's just so important, because often we can find ourselves in relationships having the same conversation with your boss but not feeling heard or understood, or having the same conversation, same conflict with your partner, and just never getting ahead. And this has been my experience. And I honestly, my jaw, like sometimes it's like pick my jaw off the ground, because like I've had experiences with Nick, my beautiful husband. And it's like times in my life where it's felt like we're just going over the same thing again and again and again and getting nowhere. We're just talking about it. And then finally, my own journey, I've started to do the work, which is really this inner work, and shifting my own resentment, healing, focusing on forgiveness, focusing on pouring love into me, shifting my heart, opening up. And then I'd come and say exactly the same thing. And my husband, beautiful Nick, will go, well, why didn't you just tell me? I hear you. That sounds really important to you, Fee. I'm on your side. I'm here to support you. This sounds wonderful. Let's work together to make that happen. Thank you so much for telling me. The same thing, but a vastly different outcome. Why? Because if we bring in the energy of anger, frustration, resentment, as we're playing our game of whack-a-mole, the outcome is going to be Murphy's Law, pain, suffering, hard work, reaction, defensiveness, and we certainly aren't going to get the outcomes that we truly, truly want. And this is sounds simple, it's not easy. It requires a sense of standards and accountability to ourselves, because the ego loves to be right, but that's a whole nother conversation for another day. And like right now, so many of my clients have transformed their lives just by understanding this and really focusing on, well, what do I need on a mindset level, so that in the moments, moment to moment, I stop reacting. So people are going to come and ask you, hey Fee, can you do this? Or hey, and we may want to put a boundary in place, but unless it feels good in ourselves, we might, and it's okay if we do spiral into being quite aggressive or resentful, be like, no, and that's okay. But ultimately, what we want is to have healthy boundaries that feel good to us, implemented, that are understood and respected and valued and honored, right? So that it's good for me, it's good for you, it's good for us. And the relationship evolves and change. Like when I said to my husband, you know what? I'm not Siri. I'm not Alexa. Is like able to say it with a sense of humor, so he could see his behavior in the moment, and then really, transforming it. So now that he's got this really beautiful relationship with Siri, not me, and it frees up my time, my headspace, and it helps. It's been so important to really, for me, to honor my own standards and be okay with saying no, and really just letting go. And it's hard because there's all of our emotional needs are tied up, because there's a part of me that loves to help, and there's a part of significance in that. Me like, look at who I am, look at how I'm helping, look at how I'm giving so much to these other people, and I love saying yes. And I've coached one of my clients at the moment who, like, incredible therapist, full books, like in demand, so incredible at what she does, and working with such tricky, complex clients and situations and circumstances, and she excels at what she does. So there's never going to be any shortage of people wanting her. But at the end of the day, she had to really come face to face with her own, like, okayness with saying no. because there's so much payoff that we get being in demand. And it's like we got to hold the mirror up, and it's like, oh, I see why I keep saying yes. I see why I'm not actually able to implement this boundary. And we got to have this honest conversation with ourselves and like reassure ourselves and give ourselves permission to transform and grow and like, be okay to not be the solution for everyone. And that's a process, and it's such a rich journey, and it requires such a shift in how we think. We got to blow our minds, we got to blow our hearts, and in fact create a really strong identity of like, as I empower myself, others are empowered. We got to be willing to let others fail and do it their way, and delegate and trust that they will figure out a process, and support them in the right way, where it's not where we jump in and do it for them, but we actually give instruction and let them explore and find their feet. And it's really hard, I think, sometimes for especially women in my sisterhood, and this has been in my heart in my life, is where it comes so simple. Some things come so simple and natural to us that it's really hard to watch other people find it difficult or find their feet with it. And we got to, like, that's us projecting, that's us not being comfortable with discomfort and impatience. And where's the solution? It's in how we relate to ourselves, and that's the mindset part. So it's not to say that strategy then doesn't need to happen. So my clients, of course, like this amazing therapist, she gets to then have the powerful conversations and put boundaries in place, but do it from a place of feeling like, oh my God, this is so right. And then what happens is others feel that, and they will honor our boundaries. If we don't feel that it's the right thing to do, when we put a boundary in place, they'll be like, are you sure? And they'll come back and like, I know you said this, but hey, could you just help me with this one thing? Look, I know you said that it was important that I didn't bother you here, but actually this is really important. Can you please help me? And that is something that we get to be curious of and be like, interesting, this is feedback around for me to really go further with my own standards, and like, like shift within here so that my standards, the new standards I hold for myself and how I feel about myself is worthiness and significance and validation, that I can give that to myself, and in turn that's the foundation that supports the external boundaries. And then from there, everyone benefits. It's truly, you know, this is an affirmation that our sisterhood live by. It's like, what's good for me is good for you, is good for the world. When I empower myself, I empower others, others become empowered. And honestly, we got to get out of this, being misfix it for everyone. And it's a journey. And like I said, it's not that when you come to a position and it's like, oh my gosh, I've got to fix this. It's like training ourselves, and we got to relearn. We have to relearn, because so much is tied up to the way that we've been brought up, and the narratives that we tell ourselves who I am and how I'm going to be loved and valued because I'm the one who gives so much, and I'm the helper, I'm the one, like, and it feels good to help as well. But it's really about coming back to shifting our identity around, okay, I take care of myself first, like I pour love into myself first, so that the things I say, the things I do, the solutions I receive, they find me, answers find me when I'm feeling better. They do, don't they? When I'm feeling lit up, the solutions will be different than if I'm feeling stressed out. We're more likely to see a solution that's good for everyone, a collaborative solution, something that moves the needle in the right direction for everyone. And ultimately, that's what we desire the most. Big-hearted, ambitious women, we want what's good for you, for me, for all of us. And so, pouring love into ourselves first isn't selfish. It's critical, because it supports us to find the greatest strategy and solution for everyone involved, especially yourself. And it means that we then break out of this pattern of like rushing and pressure and, give, and to a point where we then are resentful and burnt out and like a shadow of who we know we could be. And I could go on about all the different beautiful clients who are exhibiting this right now, because it's just evident everywhere I turn how important this is. You know, when you transform your life from being the doer and taking care of everyone, and then, you know, it is this process of empowerment, of putting in boundaries that stick, and giving yourself permission to grow and evolve and transform and adopt a whole new identity, a personality, a personal reality for you. Then others, you get so much more. They get you. You know, our loved ones will have the greater or better version of you. You know, and one of my clients was celebrating this just on our one-on-one this week, where she's like, "Oh my gosh, I've discovered how to be so present with others and listening in a way that I never have before. And in that, I can really feel this flow of energy that creates this deep sense of connection." And that's actually what I've been craving so much when I was rushing around and doing all the things. What I wanted, it was connection. And now I'm actually discovering the connection in being more present. And it's this feeling, and like they feel me and I feel them. And it feels delicious, right? It feels delicious. And that is like a gift. It's a miracle. It's the beauty of life. And that comes through us actually stepping out of that doing to be more in the being state, the feminine state. And that comes through the mindset part of things. And from there, like, you know, 5 minutes of your quality time versus 50 minutes of your, you know, go, 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 go sort of time. Which one's better for others? Oh my gosh, it's that quality. It's like you being present and having a full cup that overflows in your words and your actions and lots of love. And oh my goodness, it's so exciting to see, not, you know, that in my life, but also witnessing it in my clients' life. So if that's something that is really speaking to your heart and you're ready to really explore how to do that in life, how to stop playing that game of whack-a-mole and like giving to a point of depletion. You're tired, like so tired of putting out fires and forgetting about what's most important to you and missing out on the joy and the connection that you're actually craving, that you actually really, really want. Then reach out. I invite you to apply to work with us, and then we can have a conversation from there about jumping onto a connection call or a breakthrough session, and then explore you joining Expanding Bliss or something else that's a great fit. We do have strict requirements for that call, and I just invite you to follow the steps. The links are in the bio, and it's been such a joy talking to you about this today. And as always, I invite you to reach out, whether it's on Messenger or send us an email if you're enjoying these episodes. And thank you for sharing it with the people you love. Bye-bye. It has been so beautiful spending this time with you. If you found today's episode inspiring or helpful, please subscribe, give us a good review, and share the love. I invite you to be a part of the Bliss movement. Join our Bliss Sisterhood or apply to join my Expanding Bliss program. The links are in my bio, and I cannot wait to be doing live with you soon. Stay tuned for the next episode, where I'll be sharing more training, stories, strategies, and solutions to guide you towards your bliss.